awaydaysbeer.com. Proud to partner with Talking Town. For only $14.99, grab your ITFC Legends Pack from the Beat to Hoppy Robson to Brazil's Best and Pablo's Pal. Whatever you need, whatever you want. ITFC Legends Pack, $14.99 at awaydaysbeer.com. Grab it today. Mass Creations are proud partners of Talking Town. High quality web and software development. From web development to SEO and everything in between, make your vision a reality with Mass Creations. Call 07896 904 571 or visit masscreations.co.uk or email info@masscreations.co.uk. Mass Creations, proud partners of Talking Town. Don't forget, tell them you came from Talking Town to get 10% off. Best Burger in Stowmarket, proud partners of Talking Town. Call 01449 680 058 to book a table today. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends. My whole computer froze. Sorry about that. Welcome into Talking Town presents a special talk to interview with Paul Anderson. I am not really your host this afternoon. I'm just here to read out some contractual obligations with our friends and partners. First of all, the first one, of course, we did promise it a couple of months ago, and here they are. They are, of course, Manscaped. Now, my wife she's been reading the some of the talking points they want you to read out, and she's not quite happy about this, but there we go. So Manscaped, your balls will thank you. If I didn't have pneumonia, I think it would be funny. So yes, support for Talking Town is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all your below-the-waist grooming needs. Get 20% off and free delivery when you use the code Talking Town or TT. The code TT. Your balls will thank you, they tell me. In fact, the strapline is your testes will make them your besties. So use that as you will. That's done and dusted. Right. Don't forget you can support us through Ko-Fi. The more support we get through Ko-Fi, the less I read that out. There you go. That's a decent negotiation tool. Right. A man who is... He's more, he's used to talking absolute balls. Let's be brutally honest. Let's bring him in. It is your host, the man, the myth, the legend, the media mogul. You're used to talking absolute balls, so that's a great segue to bring you in on. Have you used any Manscaped products?
No, I haven't, but where are my freebies?
Well, this is it. They're in my back bedroom at the moment. They'll be on the way to you, don't worry. And Mrs. Phillips can give you the review. So we've got a very special discussion afternoon. It's a special season, wasn't it, really? The Murphy took the headlines for the goal scoring. But it was a real big team effort that year, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was a great season. I remember running down the road after we beat, what was it, Brentford 4-2 on Boxing Day, shouting we're top of the league.
Yeah,
I might have had a few Christmas cans at that point. But it was a great season. Yeah, it was a great season, that. And if you think back, really, our last good season, wasn't it? Where we actually had things on the line and, you know, in terms of like trying to get to where we wanted to be, which was the Premier League and not League One. But yeah, fantastic. And you know, I'd be interested to ask Paul, you know, talking about Murphy, because he scored those 27 goals. But in the season before he got 13, the season before that he got 6. So what kind of mindset, what went through those 2 seasons that got him to 27 goals? Because that's a hell of a jump, isn't it?
Yeah, no, he's got at Huddersfield for me as the standout. I was right behind that in the away section. Oh, what a finish. What a finish. Still see it clear as day today. Yeah. This is a lovely shirt, but we are giving away 2 shirts, the 2 new ITFC shirts. Because I've not been well, that is still open.
Brilliant.
What are they going to do? What are they going to do, Matthew?
Well, I mean, it's so simple. I mean, what is a new shirt at Portman Road these days? 50 quid, if not more, 60. All you've got to do to be in the draw to win one of 2 shirts, home and away, your choice, 21, 22 editions, is literally press subscribe on our YouTube channel, Home Dressing Room. You're in the draw. Happy as Larry. Press a button,
lovely,
you could win.
And easy.
You could win a new shirt. Yeah.
You absolutely could. Right. I'm going to now go behind the scenes, press buttons and put my feet up, have a cup of coffee. And we'll bring in your co-host. Do you want to introduce her, please, Matthew?
Yeah, of course. Sky Sports legend, CNN legend, Singapore legend. It's Kate Riley.
Award-winning.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you.
How you doing? You had a good week?
Yeah, had a good week. Still in lockdown, but we're ploughing on. So still got a smile on our face. So yeah, we've had a good week. What about you?
We've had Singapore temperatures here, Kate. It's been really hot.
Have you been wearing your shades?
yeah. I was in London. I don't know if you saw the show Friday. So when we did the Lee Evans transfer show, I'd literally just got back from London where we did like a little mini family break. And Martin said, "Right, we're going live." So it was all hands to the pump. But
that's what your wife wanted.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was great being back in London amongst the hustle and bustle of what is, you know, even though we're in lockdown, there was still a lot of people around and seeing things open again, like the Savoy Hotel. We went and had breakfast there. Lucky enough to go and have breakfast there. So it was great to see that back open. All these kind of London landmarks have been shut, haven't they?
I'm living vicariously through you, Matt.
Yeah, so it was really good. But you've had a good week, and you know, lots going on at Town, isn't there? So we had the Mark interview.
Honestly, like I feel like every sort of twist and you turn a corner, and there's some absolutely massive news. I've been really buoyed by this Ed Sheeran concert. I just couldn't believe the promo with Bex and then mentioning Portman Road. It's like, whoa. So
a hell of a week. So yeah, there was that announcement that he's going to do those shows on TikTok. The Mark Ashton interview was really good, wasn't it? Yeah. Wes Burns has signed. The Evans has signed. Rumours of medicals yesterday. So maybe there'll be more announcements tomorrow, Tuesday. Who knows? It's fun. Yeah. It's fun times to be a Town fan again, I think.
The owners retweeting you. All sorts of good stuff this week.
Yeah. Well, look, we had Jason DeVos last week. I think it was Tommy Smith the week before. So do you want to introduce your friend who's on today?
Yes. So just like an absolute legend of the game, started his career off at Liverpool. We were so lucky to end up with him at Ipswich. I feel kind of bad because he had that amazing season, the 14-15 season, and that's the year I left the country. But I didn't leave my club, but I do feel bad that I did a runner. I think I was actually I was looking into flights about coming back for the end of the season from Doha, but I think I couldn't afford it. So, sorry, Paul. You were absolutely amazing. You scored that goal against Norwich. That is an elite club for a person to play for Ipswich to score against our bitter rivals. It's the one and only Paul Anderson.
Thank you, guys. Hope you're well.
Hiya, Paul. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so great to have you, Paul.
No, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that 14-15 season, we might as well start there for the time being. You know, memories of that? I mean, obviously the Norwich goal was the standout moment, right, in that first leg?
Yeah, it was a hugely positive season for myself and for the club, obviously. You mentioned there, Matt, about it's probably the last good season the club's had to take positives from, I suppose. And I was so fortunate to be a part of it, and I felt like I had a massive part to play in it. And all I can take away is good memories. Obviously, the playoffs. You talk about the Norwich goal, which unfortunately didn't turn out to mean anything. But at the time, it gave us in our changing room and obviously the Town fans some sort of hope. I think going into that second leg, we were pretty positive that we could take it away from them. So unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, but it gave us that hope, which you live for, I suppose.
One thing I was talking about with Matt is, what's the essence of being an Ipswich Town player? We're seeing 2 new faces confirmed this week. You heard there from Matt, rumours of medicals. We could have more players coming next week. What's it like being an Ipswich player? What's sort of in the water there?
It's strange, really, because before I signed for the club, if I'm honest, most of the time I used to play, it would be a Tuesday night, it would be wet, cold, horrible. And like when the call came through from Mick McCarthy at the time, I was thinking, do I want to go to Ipswich? It's miles away, it's cold, it's horrible. That was my honest opinion. And then actually when I came down and I looked around Portman Road, I was like, actually, this stadium's nice. Like, it's a lovely place. But when you're playing it, you don't really, as a player, all you ever see is you come in on the bus, you walk in through a small little tunnel, you're in your changing room, then you come out and you're against, obviously, all the fans chanting against you. So that's probably why it felt not so nice for me. But as soon as I signed, and there was a feel about it, that for being such a huge club, I think when it's actually quite a relatively small town, really, and there just feels like a family club to it. And maybe I was very fortunate that when I was there was such a good changing room. Mick McCarthy made a fantastic environment to be playing in. And as soon as I started playing, I just felt at home. Absolutely loved it there. And again, the Norwich goal, and then there was the petition that happened after the goal and stuff to try and keep me at the club. It's probably the first and maybe only club I've really played for where I really felt wanted. And obviously now coming to the end of my career, if not the end of my career, I can only be thankful that there is a club and there's fans who look at me as I'm not going to use words, but if I came into Ipswich and I went on a night out, or I'm sure I'd get a few beers bought for me, which would be nice. It would be nice to.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of our viewers tonight, Zach King, Dr. Zach King, has mentioned one of the legendary stories involving you at Town, and that involves compensation of a fan. So it's all very well Matt and myself telling the story. Why don't we hear it from you?
Oh, obviously it's there on the bottom of the screen. It was such a tongue-in-cheek thing, and I was on a bit of a high, obviously, with the way it had gone. And the lad who, after I scored the goal, which, look, it's the loudest thing I've heard being on a pitch. Obviously, I've been fortunate to have sat in stadiums and that have been full. We'll probably talk about Liverpool in the time, but when Liverpool beat West Ham in the FA Cup final, when Gerrard scored that goal, and I was in the crowd, and you're not going to hear anything bigger because that was at the Millennium Stadium. But for a personal point of view, being on a pitch, I don't think I've heard many louder things. So obviously that sits with me. And then coming after the game, I was getting tweets, you get other messages you get on social media platforms. And there was the lad who had said, he'd punched a hole in the ceiling for celebrating, and he'd cut his hand. And sort of tongue-in-cheek, I'd mentioned to him and said, I suppose it was my fault that happened, so let me know how much it is to pay for the damage. And it, again, tongue-in-cheek stuff, and it went along, and he messaged me. I messaged him privately and said, no, honestly, if you want me to sort that damage for you, that's no problem. And he's like, no, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, just get it sorted and I'll do it. And a few weeks later, I checked up on him. I said, have you had it sorted? He went, yeah. I said, so how much? It wasn't a lot of money at all.
How much was it?
I think it was about 80 quid, something like that.
A couple of grand.
So he could have put a bit of a forged invoice in, couldn't he? But to be fair to him, no, he said what it was, and I transferred him over the money, and
Brilliant.
you jest about it, but again, it was a nice thing to be able to do. And you've heard the stuff that Tyrone Mings used to do when he got tickets for people, and when he changed his shirt, which I'm not sure many people had a Mings 15 shirt, but still to reimburse people, it's like it's nice things that we're able to do sometimes.
Was hopes high when we went into that second leg? Because obviously it was 1-1, wasn't it, from the first one? And we were pretty much holding our own, weren't we, until Tommy Smith got the goal. Berra had just been sent off.
From what I remember in the first half, and maybe I'm wrong, but on that pitch, we felt like we dominated the first half. And coming off the pitch, they were arguing between themselves. And we were going into that changing room going, guys, we've got this. They're like, because they were the favourites at the end of the day. They were the favourites to go up. I think they'd obviously been able to fund a lot higher wages, better players, if you could say it like that. So they had the stronger squad, and we'd really rocked them. So going into half time, and then unfortunately, obviously, the sending off changed the game. And if I'm honest, and I sit here, I think once that had happened and they'd scored the goal, I know Tommy got the goal back, but it didn't feel like it was going to go our way, unfortunately, at that point. But we tried, and you keep going and you keep fighting. And unfortunately, with a man down, and they probably had other players that could come and change the game maybe a bit better than us. Unfortunately, it just got away from us. Yeah.
I always wonder, Kate, as fans, the fans leave Carrow Road dejected. How long do the team stay around? I mean, is it like a quiet dressing room? It's now the end of the season. Do you all just jump on the coach and go back to Portman Road? How does it work?
I can't really remember, if I'm honest. It's strange because you think as soon as that final whistle goes, that's the season done.
Yeah, it's done and dusted, isn't it? Yeah.
So Norwich, they'll have been thinking, right, we're going to go and get prepared for the final. I think it was middle of that year that got to the final.
It was, yeah.
So they're obviously going and preparing for that. And for us, it was one of those that's your season done. You're so close to getting to the Premier League. Half of us were out of contract. No one knows really where they're going to go. You didn't know what the club were thinking, whether they were going to invest and go for it again the following year, because our budget was so low. And we were punching way above our weight, really. But actually, if you look at the changing room, I haven't been in a better changing room than that. Like, it was an absolute honour to wear the shirt. And it's one thing that I've always said, since I've left, I've not been able to play at Portman Road. Obviously, I would like to do it for Ipswich, but even to play there again. So that's not happened, and I've never been able to play against them or pull on a shirt again, a Town shirt. And it's one thing that I've said I'd always love to do, just for one last time.
That dressing room, was that like a trickle down effect from Mick? Because obviously things sort of soured for him at the end.
Yeah, I would say so. And again, I don't want to sit here and I don't want to criticise fans and things at the end of the day. Like, fans have every right to have their opinion. And look, I sit here, Mick doesn't play the best football. Like, he doesn't. But you know what? He knows how to win, and he knows how to build a changing room. Look at what he's done at Cardiff this year. He went straight in. I think he went 10 games unbeaten or something daft at the start. Like, he knows what he's doing. There's a reason why he's got teams promoted from the Championship. There's a reason why he saved Town that first season, and there's a big reason why it's not happened since he's left.
I was going to say, there's a big reason why we're in League One.
And the fans were wanting that. not wanting League One. But I saw comments where fans were saying, "Oh, I'd rather be playing good football and playing in League One than playing rubbish football and playing in the Championship." I can't understand that as being a player. I want to play the best football in the world. I want to play for Man City. I'd love to play that style of football, but like there's few and far between who play that outside of the Premier League. So he created it. Like he knew what he was doing. He signed the players. I had a similar thing with Billy Davis at Nottingham Forest. Like he signs the players that are right for his dressing room and right for his team. He doesn't go, "Oh, we can sign Ronaldo," like, which we would all love to sign, but there are players out there that were probably better than myself or better than others in the team, but they're not going to fit the bill. They're not fit the culture of the changing room. And he's a very, very clever man. And he knows how to manage people at the end of the day. I mean, that's why he was successful.
Pieces of a jigsaw, I suppose, isn't it, Paul? And a large part of that jigsaw was Chambo, who was kind of mixed, obviously, right-hand man being the captain. We had Jason DeVos on there last week, who told us what it was like being the captain of Ipswich. But what did Chambo bring to like that team mentality, that dressing room, that Monday to Friday outside of match days?
I've not played under a better captain than Chambo. Again, I think he'll openly admit not the best footballer in the world, doesn't have the most ability, but I've never played with anyone who's got a bigger heart. And when I say that, I mean a guy who will run through a brick wall for his teammates, for his manager. He will put other people first before himself. And he actually cares about other people in the changing room. So when people, don't get me wrong, he's the biggest joker you'll come across. Like, he loves to have the banter. He loves to take the mickey. If the vibe is a little bit down, if the atmosphere is not great, he'll be the one picking it back up. And at the end of the day, that's what a leader does. What I see in Jordan Henderson, I see a lot of Chambo in that. Chambo's probably got a bit more charisma than Henderson, but I genuinely look at, if you were wanting a leader, he would be the one that I would want leading me going into a battle. And if you've got people like that in your changing room, like, people follow. If you've got leaders who do that and are prepared to do that, everyone will follow. And that season, I know he's been there the last few years in the disappointing times. I get that, and I know he's come under some scrutiny and some stick. But when things start to fall apart around it, it's not easy to pull it all together, and I'm sure he's been there trying to do that.
We were saying a few weeks ago, Paul, that, I mean, Chambo's such a fan's favourite. We just really feel for him that because of COVID and everything, he hasn't really had the opportunity to have the proper send-off he deserves. And then that just sort of leaves a really sour taste as well.
It's not nice when you start looking at not leaderboard, but when you're looking at the amount of games he's captained for the club, the amount of games he's actually played and barely missed. Like, I know that I think he played games with broken bones. Like, I can't remember what it was exactly, but
he broke his wrist. His wrist, I think.
That's what it was. He played games like when he should not have played games. Like, he definitely pushed his body to the limit for that club. And yes, it's a personal pride of his own. And yes, he's the captain and he'll hold that. But at the end of the day, when you pull on a jersey for whatever club it is, like, you're doing it for that club. And there's not many more with the desire and the attitude that I look up to and I respect, and partly wish I had a bit of that in me as well. But everyone's different, and he's just a natural leader.
Yeah. And of course, we've got now Paul Cook at the helm.
Yeah.
And Chambo has left. I see, actually, Kate and Boy, he actually, Chambo's showing the heart of the man. He actually welcomed Wes Burns and Lee Evans to the club this week via Instagram, which I thought was a really fantastic gesture. But Paul Cook's big thing now is, how does he replace Chambo, Paul? Because, you know, he needs someone to come in, maybe fresher legs, but with the same character, those same leadership qualities, right?
Again, look, I know last season probably didn't end the way the club was hoping to. There was a period of time when Paul Cook came in. You think, right, we're going to sneak into these playoffs here and have a positive finish and be back where the club belong, if not up to the Premier League in time. And whether these new owners have that as an ambition, I'm not sure. But you feel that when Paul Cook was brought in, he was the guy that everyone else was wanting. All the other clubs were wanting. Anyone in around the lower Championship, top of League One, that's who their aim was to get, and the target was to get him. And look, Town got him. Yes, he came in and it didn't quite click, didn't quite get the results that he was maybe hoping for and the club was maybe hoping for, but he's now got his own agenda. And talk about Chambers, talk about Scouse, some of the lads were not a part of what he saw was what was right for the club moving forward. And look, that's a shame for me to see, because I think they've got the club at heart, both of those. But he's a new manager. He's got to have his own way. And sometimes these guys, you need to freshen it up. And maybe it is the right thing for Chamber not to stay. And I'm sure Paul Cook is a clever enough manager to bring in who is the right person for that role. So if he's listening, I'm here.
I was going to say, could you do a job for us?
I would do anything to come back there. I offered my services to Paul Lambert for free. I said I would come and play for nothing because I wanted to come and prove myself. I still believe I can play in the Championship now, even though I haven't been there for a few years. And look, I would do anything to put, like I said, I'd do anything for that shirt because I felt wanted. Maybe it's right for me not to go back because I've left on a positive note. And I'd hate to feel like if I came back and it wasn't right and then that status went. But like I say, I won't care about that. Like I'd just love to wear that shirt again. But maybe I'll have to wait for management or coaching or something like that further down the line. So we'll see.
You never know, Paul, because the new club owners watch this podcast. This is a good advert for you.
Well, I know where I am.
Now let's talk about some positives. Obviously, we spoke about that Norwich goal. What about Wembley with Northampton?
And again, that's look. People always say, "Are you retired? Are you not retired?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not officially retired." I've had loads and loads of offers from part-time teams and non-league teams, and if I'm honest, I'm not sure I want to just cling on to play. And I know that might sound disrespectful because they're good levels and there's good teams offering me opportunities to carry on playing. But I don't want to drop out of the leagues. And look, I've got a great relationship with Northampton as well. I had my first season, the fans weren't great with me the first season I was there, but I scored 7 goals in the season, which was quite high for a team that was struggling in League One at the time, but we managed to keep them up. And then obviously my following season, I joined the club when we were 18th. And then I think we went on some ridiculous run, not saying just because of me, but after I signed, we didn't lose in however many games. And look, we got to Wembley. It was my 5th playoffs, and I've never been to Wembley. So I was thinking when we got there, and I don't know if you remember, we were losing 2-0 in the semi-final after the first leg, and I was thinking this is just going to be my career. I'm never going to get the chance to play at Wembley. And obviously we got to Wembley, and I only played 5 or 10 minutes at the end, but it was one of my. When I started my career, you have your to-do lists, like you set your targets, you set your aims, and one of them was to play at Wembley. And look, fortunately for me, I've played at Wembley, I've won at Wembley, albeit in front of no one, which was strange. But I've been there, I've done it, and that's the last professional game I've played. is at Wembley, and I look at it and I think I don't want to end on a sour note where I might go and play for a part-time team, and like I'm just doing it because I love football and I want to earn a little bit of money. I'm looking at it thinking I want to finish my career on a high, and there's no bigger high than winning at Wembley. So if that is my last game, then I can't have asked to finish in a better way. Obviously, I would still like for there to be opportunity in the league. Like I've said, I know that I can play in the Championship. I do not doubt that whatsoever. It's just certain things have happened, right place, right time, or wrong place, right time as we've gone along. And unfortunately, nothing has sort of come of it with the pandemic and everything. But I also have to realise that I'm very fortunate to have had the career I've had. And if it is the time, I'm very proud to have achieved what I've achieved. So,
yeah. I mean, when the show started about a year ago, Paul, we were talking about midfielders that we needed for League One, those kind of midfielders with a bit of bite. And I always kept referring to like someone like Alan McCormack.
Yeah.
And of course, you've now played with him at Northampton Town. So he's kind of like, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I always see him as like one of these kind of like maybe bottom end Championship players, but streetwise in League 1 and 2. And he really adds something to a starting 11, doesn't he? Like those Alan McCormack figures at this tier.
You've got people like, what's his name as well? Michael. I can't think of his surname. Plays for Notts County now. Little Irish midfielder. Him, Alan McCormack. Look, when you play against these sorts of players, that look, you don't want to say it, but they're horrible to play against. They're so horrible. They're like little rats in midfield who talk all the way through the game. They're badgering you, and you're like, just shut up. Like, just play football. Like, Chambo's a little bit like that, but Chambo's more jokey. Whereas these two, you think, if this kicks off, they're going to just kick lumps out of me.
Yeah.
So, like, they're the sort of characters that you would want on your team, 100%. You would much rather them on your team than the other teams. There's plenty of them out there. I think Robbie Savage is the perfect example of it. That actually, he's not a bad player. Robbie Savage.
Wow, that's right.
He wasn't a bad player, but he had this persona and he lived up to this persona. And these other guys have that they look. You just think, you knew when you look at the team sheet, you're like, I don't want to play against this guy straight away. So they're one up already in the tunnel, in the changing room, just because they're these nitty gritty, horrible little midfielders who want to kick lumps out of people. And when you're not saying myself, but you'll have young lads now, because that's the way football seems to be going. You're bringing these lads in on loan from Man United, Arsenal, and all of this. Like, they're not ready for it. Because they've played under 23s football, which is nicey, tiki-taka football. Yeah. And then you're coming up against people like Alan McCormack. They've not seen that before. So they're perfect characters for the changing room. Two, when I use the word going into battle, like, you want them on your side. I don't want to go against them.
Yeah, absolutely. I always thought we needed someone like that, Kate, because Ipswich has this like nice persona. Roy Keane said we were too nice. So I always felt like, we've got Flynn Downs, but he hasn't got that level of experience that Alan McCormack has got, has it? That kind of streetwise and stuff. And
look, I would imagine Paul Cook knows what he's doing. He's obviously brought in the lads already, which I've played with both of them, actually. They'll be exciting players to watch. And he obviously, Paul Cook knows Lee Evans from the Wigan time, I assume. And then obviously the Wes Burns is just a sharp, dangerous player. And again, I played with him when he was young, so he'll have come on and he'll have improved since then. But I just remember how quick he was.
Bristol City.
It was Bristol City.
Yeah. What can fans look forward to from Wes then, do you think, Bob?
He's sharp. Look, again, I have seen him a little bit at Fleetwood. Look, he's dangerous. He's whether or not he will be your starting player all the time, I don't know. But if he's on your bench I'm telling you now, if I'm a fullback or if I'm a defender and I'm thinking we've got 20 minutes left, he's just going to cause nightmares. He's got good movement. He's quick. He's actually scored quite a few goals. So he's going to be a dangerous player, and he's a nice lad as well. So I'd imagine he'll fit into the changing room as well, because they've got a few. I don't know. Is Edward still there? I'm not sure, but obviously
he's out of contract. But yeah, he's still. I think he's spoken to MK Dons, but I think there might be still an offer on the table for him. But
right.
Yeah, and another Welshman, Lee Evans, of course.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about him?
You agree? Well, he again. I played with him as a young lad. He was on loan from somewhere at Bradford City, Wolves.
Oh yeah,
on loan from Wolves. And again, a little bit raw at the time. Great technician. Can score some good goals, by the way. I don't know if you've seen a goal reel. He scored some great goals in his time. He'll be one of those in the middle of in the midfield. He's a big lad. I wouldn't say he's someone who's going to run around and smash people. He's more of a footballer than a fighter in there. But he's a creative player, powerful in there. Bit of a box-to-box midfielder. And again, I think he'll fit the club. He'll fit the club well.
So what's going to happen then, Paul, with you? We heard you on Radio Suffolk doing co-coms a couple of weeks ago, and that's what prompted my invitation, because I just love listening to you. I thought, oh, you'd be a really good guest here. So what's next? Because you don't want to say you're retiring. Right. Are you looking at other countries, or?
If I'm honest, ever since leaving town, I've tried to get abroad and play away. At the time when I left town, there was conversation of me going to the States, which was always a dream of mine. And then would have been the right time, but the offers just weren't right. And I was probably a bit young at the time, to be honest. I was only sort of 26, and it wasn't really the right time.
What kind of, we won't say which clubs, but what kind of climate were you looking at?
So the agent I was dealing with, I literally said, I will go anywhere in the world. And I still would. The problem I now have is I have 2 young children. And I've got my wife, who is in the final year of her course that she's doing. So she's setting up her own business and things like that. So I'm now at that stage where I can't be as selfish as maybe I have been over my career.
You don't want to move across the world with a child during a pandemic? Oh.
Well,
maybe I can give you
I wouldn't mind it. You'll have to let me know how that went.
So far, so good. Although we're still in lockdown, but there you go. Yeah.
Well, look, if there was opportunities there, I would do it, because it's one thing I've probably not experienced in my career, and I am looking at moving into coaching beyond football. So if I had that as an experience as a player, it's another string to my bow that I can maybe understand how it is for foreigners coming in to if I'm coaching in England, or it might lead me into coaching abroad. So I'll get a complete different opportunity. So look, I've been in, there's one at the bottom there. India, I was actually speaking to Phil Brown when he was manager out there, and unfortunately that just fell through last minute. But look, I'm open to anything. My wife is open to me potentially doing something abroad, but we'll see. It's
well, our new owners, Paul, own Phoenix Rising as well. So again, let's hope they're watching.
Oh yeah,
and a new club in Rhode Island. So got
a new club in Rhode Island as well. So things are going on.
Hop back to the UK, nice and easy.
Ah, lovely. We'll see.
We couldn't keep Richard away, Paul. He's here. He's here. He's refereeing. He wants in. Here he comes, look.
Oh, there he is.
Hello.
Refereeing shirt.
Town shirt. It's good.
Town shirt.
I like Kate's headband.
Oh, thanks. Look at you two with matching beards.
I've got a question for Paul. So obviously you got released by Town, and you got released by Northampton. So obviously Northampton, it was in a pandemic, and how was your mental health, Paul? Because obviously you want to get back in the game. You've had that day-to-day sort of, you're in that dressing room, and then all of a sudden that's been taken away from you. I know you were doing some fencing, weren't you? I know you were.
Oh yeah.
You were putting your hands to that. So how did you cope?
It's difficult. Online, there's bits and bobs that I've spoke about because I had a real tough time when I was at Mansfield, and that was solely down to one man plus his sidekick. So they just made my life hell, and they would do anything to, which is, I thought, was very unfair because I'm not a bad guy. I'm a good guy in a changing room. I'm not someone who's going to kick up a fuss. And they totally cast me aside and pushed me away. And they were texting me late in the evenings saying, tomorrow morning, you've got to come here, train on your own, go there, do a 20k bike ride, then go and train with some under 16s that weren't even footballers. Like, I was in a bad place. And I've openly admitted that. Since then, being released is part and parcel of football. Like, I don't expect to be treated the way I got treated with Mansfield, but not that I expect, because I don't want to get released, but I expect that that's probably going to happen at some point. And if I'm honest, it's happened quite a lot through my career, and it's happened to most footballers, that it's not being released, it's just, look, we're going to go a different direction. So yeah, it wasn't nice, and it's my one after Ipswich was not a problem. I had clubs calling all over the place. That wasn't an issue. This time, the thing that hurts me is that people question me because of my age. I'm 32. Put me in amongst the 18, 19-year-olds. I'm still fitter than them. I'm still quicker than them. So why are you questioning my age?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen in other walks of life. Yes, I understand it's a business now, so a team might want to sign an 18-year-old because in a year's time he might be worth 200 grand or 300 grand, whatever it is that they can sell them on. So it's a business. I'm not going to be worth anything to a club. I understand that, because you're not going to sell me on. No one's going to buy me at 33, 34. So I get that, but you're not. It sounds terrible. Was it the Alan Hansen thing, or who said that you're never going to win anything with kids? But at those levels, you're just bringing in young lads. You're not. It's so tough. Like, you need experience in changing rooms, and I bring that with the fitness, with the energy, with the desire still to prove that I can do it. So it was disappointing that no one. I did have people pick up the phone, and there were opportunities for me to go and trial here and there, and maybe it was a bit egotistical of me that I'm thinking, hang on, I've just won at Wembley. If you look at where Northampton were compared when I signed to what I did for the club, and really, I still to this day, I think if I didn't sign, and I know this might sound really big-headed, and I'm not that guy at all, I don't think they'd have got promoted if I wouldn't have signed for them, because I was a huge part of the way they played. And I picked up everything, all the second balls, everything. I picked up all of that. And I was probably that unsung hero for the year, where I didn't score that many. I didn't set that many up, but I kept everything ticking for the club, and I did all the nitty gritty, hard, horrible work.
I see your first goal. You got me tickets for that game against Morecambe. I think I sat next to your mum and dad, and I think your little boy was there as well. And I think you scored. You scored 2 that day, or just 1?
Well, it was technically 2, but they took one off.
I thought the first one was yours because it was a cross and it went straight all the way in, didn't it?
The first one was mine, and the second one, which was a great strike, it took a slight nick off someone, and they took the goal. So yeah, that was a good game. It was a good game.
When you talk about sort of moving around the country, Paul, like you've been Bradford, you've been Plymouth, you say Mansfield, you've been Ipswich, started the Liverpool. It's so different to like regular jobs, like you know that we all do. How do you have that conversation when someone picks up the phone and it's Mick McCarthy and so we want you to come down to Ipswich and you're living in Bristol?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you? Is it sort of I'll be there straight away? How does it work?
I think I left home at 15, so I'm sort of a Leicester lad, and I went up to Hull and did my YTS at Hull. Even though I had family there, you're still 2 hours away from home. And then obviously from Hull, the Liverpool situation came about. And did you know, it sounds daft because I'm going to say you don't turn down Liverpool when they come calling. You don't. But I'm a Hull City fan. So it was tough for me because I was getting offered pro contracts from Hull City, my team. Wow. So I'm thinking, I'm going to play for my boyhood team here.
Dream.
But I've got the European champions bringing me. And you're like, head and a heart, you have to do it. Like, you had to go. So straight away, by the time I'm 17, I've moved 2 hours from home, then another 2 hours across the M62, which is still 2 hours from home. By the time I was 17, I was just used to it. Mm. So for me, I've not had to worry about that. And when an opportunity comes, like, so when Town came calling, it was Sean O'Driscoll, who was the manager of Bristol City at the time. He pulled me into his office, and look, I knew what was going on through my agent and from Mick McCarthy, and obviously Cole Scouse was there, Dean Gherkin, David McGoldrick, Luke Chambers. So I played with all these guys at Nottingham Forest, at Bristol City. I'm getting calls from them saying, "Oh, we've just had Mick McCarthy speaking." So I was asking about your personality, about like, would you be interested in coming? And I was like, well, yeah, because I was earning more money at Bristol City in League One than I would have been at Town in the Championship.
Wow.
But for me, it wasn't ever about money. It's about playing at the highest level possible. And it didn't even cross my mind at where Ipswich was, or when I signed for Bristol, I didn't think, oh, well, Bristol there. That was never my thought process. It's always been, right, what is right for my career? What is best for my football? And playing in the Championship, which, look, my time at Town, I literally said this the other day to someone, like, I really found myself as a person at Ipswich. I don't think I was ever, even though at Forest I had a great time there and we had 2 playoffs and stuff, I wasn't really comfortable in my own skin. I felt a little bit out of my comfort zone in a football changing room. I think the football banter and things like that, it's not me. Like, I'm a little bit different. I'm a little bit, I don't know. I'm not the typical footballer that you would think. So I felt quite uncomfortable in these changing rooms. But then at Town, I just found myself, and I just look back at it as it's the best move I'd ever done, because I could have quite easily sat at Bristol City, been comfortable in League One, earning good money. But it wasn't about that. It was about playing as high as I could possibly be. So.
All right, we've got a question from Callie. He's a Talking Town devotee. Paul, he wants your thoughts on his cousin Mal Benning. So be nice.
No, he was one of these guys that he's a bit of a club legend there at Mansfield. He's done a great job. He's a very good left back. I used to hate playing against him in training. I don't know what it was. He was right on me all the time. He'd not kick me, because they don't kick you in training as much, but I never had a second. I never had a time. He's relatively quick. He's powerful. He's got a great left foot. And he's a nice guy. Like, he was good for the changing room as well. Quiet guy, pretty quiet. Maybe not so much away from football. I don't know. I didn't really get to spend that much time with him or the lads from Mansfield, because, like I say, I got separated away from them pretty early doors. But I've got nothing bad to say about him at all. So I don't have many bad things to say about anyone who I've played with, really, other than the manager there.
That's good. Tell us about your, as you look to the next stage or next club, tell us about your sort of fitness regime at home and the diet, because that's quite a lot on your wife to help support all of that, as well as her finishing her last year of her course, and the kids and the pandemic, blah blah blah.
Yeah, look, I've always sat here. I've been with my wife now 7 years. Literally met her when I was coming into my second year at Town.
Oh, is she a local girl?
Oh no, she's Manchester.
Oh.
We met on holiday. We won't go there. So we met on holiday in between my 2 years at Town. But she's had to put up with loads. Like, we were, again, another conversation that came up. We were at a 30th birthday party yesterday, and for her 30th birthday party, she was ill and she had to travel 7 hours on a train down to Plymouth to come and see me because I signed there a week before. And like, she's had to give up so much of her time and her dreams to allow me to do mine. So yeah, so it is what it is, and it is tough. It is tough, but I said before, I'm so lucky to have had what I've had, and what comes next, I'm not
so
sure.
What are you doing fitness wise in the garden and stuff? That's what I sort of envisage. All our gyms are closed here. I don't know what's the state of play.
So I'm one of these lucky guys, and you'll all hate me. I know. I don't put on weight.
What?
I'm naturally fit. I can eat what I want. I've always been. I know you all hate me. People hate me. I know. But just genetically, that's me. I'm naturally fit. I could walk into pre-season, even though I've missed the full season now. I could walk into pre-season and I wouldn't be far behind. I'd soon pick it straight back up. I've been doing the fencing, obviously, which is physically demanding, and that was just in lockdown. I was still doing the fencing when I was playing for Northampton. So when that lockdown happened, again, talk about mental health and things, I just needed to get out of the house, and fencing was something that you were allowed to do. It was classed as a whatever they call it. It's still allowed.
Social worker or something.
Yeah, so because obviously all the farmers and everything need the fields to be kept clean and the cattle in and everything like that. So so I was doing that, and that was keeping me physically strong. And whilst I was at Northampton, I was obviously doing all my own football stuff as well. Whereas since I've come out of football, I was, for the first couple of months, I was keeping myself ready. I was going and doing the odd bit of training. I've never been one for the gym. Look, I'm a slender guy, and I'm built for pace. I'm more of a intelligent footballer rather than using my body for strength and stuff. So that's not going to go. But again, I've not been doing loads and loads of sprints and stuff. But then I set up my own coaching business about 6-7 months ago now. Okay. So I've been doing that every day. And one of the days I did 35,000 steps, just from like 7 or 8 sessions. And this week I've just had a half-term camp, which I've coached every day. Done all the kids. I've done over 20,000 steps every day, albeit not at the intensity I'm used to. But again, I'm still keeping extremely fit by the work that I'm actually doing at the minute. So so yeah, if there was an opportunity there, I would get straight back on it, and I would be grafting, doing pre-season runs and be in gyms and do everything that I'd need to do. But also my body's never felt better. Not having to do the intensity of work that I've been used to. I feel really nice, and I can actually touch my toes now, which is nice.
I think we've got one of our regulars, Colin, wants to come on and ask you a question.
You'll love him.
Is he still here? Colin,
guys,
Colin,
how are we? All right.
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you, Colin?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Hello, Kate. Hello, Matt.
Hello.
Paul.
Hi, Colin. Good to see you.
Lovely to speak to you, Paul. I've been going to the town since 1964, since I was 7 years old, just to give you a little bit of knowledge about myself. So I've been supporting the town for all my life, and I've got to say, that semi-final against Norwich, I said, when you scored that goal, and you was commenting about it earlier about how loud it was. I must admit, it was one of the biggest noises I can remember in recent years at Portman Road, and it was absolutely fantastic. And but what I'd like to say to you as well is what a lovely person you come across as. I've never spoken to you, but you come across a really lovely person. And when you speak about your fitness and all this, that, and the other, I must admit, I put it in the chat earlier, I would love to see you come back, whether that be for a squad player or whatever. I can always tell when people are not lying, but when they're fibbing a little bit, I wouldn't mind going back there. I can hear in your voice that you loved playing for Town, and you want to. If you was given the chance, you would fight, because listening to what fitness you do and stuff, you obviously look after yourself. Very, very good person. I should imagine you're a good family man. I'd love to see you back, Paul. Honestly.
Look, very kind words. I appreciate that. I'll let my mum know you've said she's brought up a good guy. But no, it's. I like to think I'm an honest guy, and I think I show that on the football pitch as well as off it. I give everything I've got. Don't get me wrong, I'm a little bit lazy around the house at times. My wife will let you know. But when I put my mind to something, I try and give it 110%. And it's like I say, I genuinely have so much love and appreciation for Town.
Sorry to interrupt, Paul. Do you honestly think that you could still play top end? Because obviously, I said on the chat the other day, first or second, especially what everything's going on, first or second, anything less than that is a failure next season.
Yeah, Town in the top two, Colin. You said.
Sorry?
You said Town in the top two, didn't you? That's your prediction, isn't it?
So what I'm trying to say is, Paul, so you honestly think, and I'll believe it if you say it, because how you come across, you still think you can play as a first or second place, first division player, stroke championship, yeah?
I genuinely, look, going into a pre-season or something like that, I would totally understand that I might not be the first name on a team sheet for someone at that level. I get that, and politically, you have to look at that. I've played League One, League Two over the past couple of years, so I get that. But my thoughts, I think the higher I play, the better I am, because I am not. You will know this. You've seen me play. I am not a 9 or 10 out of 10 player. You're not going to get that, but you're not going to get a 4 or 5 out of 10 from me. You're going to get a 6, 7, 8 out of 10 from me at whatever level I play. You will get me a 6, 7, 10 out of 10 every week, and I will give you absolutely everything. And I've got the ability. My ability is there. My fitness is there. It's just someone believing in me and giving me that opportunity. And like I say, whether that be as a starting player or a squad player, I'm there for that. I would not be someone who would begrudge a younger player being in front of me, or if a manager picks someone else. Do I believe that I should be the one that starts? Yes, because I have to have that arrogance and that belief. But like you say, if I was given the opportunity, I would, especially in Town, I would give it my everything.
Paul, do you know Paul Cook well?
I don't know Paul Cook. I've never come across Paul Cook. However, I did play with, is it Martin Craney?
Yes.
Who's come in as coach. I did play with Swansea City.
Right.
So I know he obviously knows me as a player, but that was 15 years ago.
Well, Mike on the text says Ando definitely works hard, would fit into Cook's philosophy. So there you go. Mark also saying still think he could do a job for us. So there we go. And Josh says Paul Cook, sign Ando and bring him home. So I think there's an overriding sentiment tonight.
We're talking mindset, Paul. I said this right at the top of the show, Martin. Daryl Murphy had that kind of like those seasons where he'd scored 6 goals, and he got 13. And suddenly out of nowhere, he got 27 goals. I mean, is that just the mindset thing? Is that having better players around him? Is it you putting crosses onto his head? How can you explain that? How can you explain those really huge jumps?
think there's a lot of footballers who have these sorts of seasons. I think if you look at Vardy, I think Vardy hadn't scored loads in his first season in the Premier League. So it takes players time to gel into a philosophy and into a style of football. And Mick McCarthy had a different style to whoever Murph was playing for beforehand. So it's going to take you time. I don't think Murph was playing all the time before he signed at Town as well. So it's going to get that confidence, I suppose. Confidence is a huge part for a striker, but for a player. But for a striker, if you've got confidence, if you see some of his goals he scored, I think it was Fulham. I can't remember who he scored against. Fulham or someone. He scored from like the left-hand side near the touchline, where he's like volleyed it across himself, and the goalkeeper made a bit of a hash of it. I understand that, but for him to even think about hitting that shows the confidence that he had in that 26, 27 goal season. I think everything fell into place. I think we played a perfect style for him. Like you said, we had people like myself, J-Tab, Stephen Hunt. I'm probably missing other wingers out here who, look, I think I've got great delivery. I think I was the highest assists that season for the club. So you had people who were putting in these good balls into the right areas for someone. And you had David McGoldrick, who was on fire as well, creating little things. So we had a very good team. I think confidence came into it, playing to someone's strengths. So if a manager plays to your strengths, and look, it takes time for a manager to know a striker's strengths as well, or a player's strengths. So it takes that time and for everything to gel. And I think that was one of those seasons that everything just seemed to gel from top to bottom. And Murph just had a bit of a wonder season. So it was. I
was a big fan of J-Tab. Same height as me, for one. He was a good little player, and he was good in the air too, wasn't he, J-Tab? He was good in the air.
Can I just say that was one of the things last season that I thought was absolutely so much missing from our play. The fact that you brought up, Paul, just now about assists. I mean, the amount of crosses, Matt knows this, the amount of crosses that, and even corners and stuff that hit the first man and what have you, was terrible. Quite staggering, wasn't it, Matt?
It used to annoy the hell out of me. I don't know a good corner taker since Waghorn, who really used to like ping it in.
I honestly think Paul knows this from being a player. I honestly think that's one of the real pet hates of any fan. Because let's face it, all us fans of, we all think we're brilliant footballers, or we have been back in the day, and when we watch a corner and it kind of don't even make a 6 yard box, like,
and look, it's a hate of my own. I think the hardest thing with it, and look, this is coming from a guy who used to take corners all the time, that sometimes a manager might ask you to. You'll see, and this is probably me giving a bit of away, I'm sure most people know, you'll see someone put their right hand up or their left hand up or both hands up, or they'll bounce the ball. Every time they do that when they're taking a set piece, it means something. So you've worked on it in the training ground. So I might just put my right hand up. That might mean it's a near post delivery. So that ball has to be, you're talking that above the first man to hit the perfect cross what you've worked on. So you're talking centimeters that sometimes we're working with. So sometimes it's going to happen. It is going to happen at times because you're asked to do something so specific, and it's not easy to kick a ball perfectly at that level. And that's why people like Beckham and Ward-Prowse and these, they get paid the money they get paid because they hit it on the money every time. However, there are times where it does get a bit repetitive and you think, why is this happening? But actually, at Portman Road, it's quite difficult for your run-ups. Again, sounds daft. You haven't got a massive area to run up from. So
yes, it's tight in the corners, isn't it, Paul?
Sorry, I've got an interruption.
We're all parents here.
Oh,
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Yeah, in 2 minutes, mate. Go on, I'll be out.
You're right, Colin. It is tight. It is tight in the corner, Portman Road, isn't it?
it's really
Right.
tight in the
Yeah,
corners.
so it's really tight in the corner. So when you practice, which I used to practice all the time on a Thursday or Friday before a Saturday game, or a Monday before a Tuesday game, you'd practice. Well, actually, what you're practicing is completely different to playing at whatever stadium you're in. However, I used to measure Portman Road's run-up. So I would measure what that was. So when I practiced at the training ground, I was practicing the same run-up as what Portman Road was. Little things that other people might not think of.
How quality is that, to hear somebody speaking like that, you know, thinking out of the box, you know?
Yeah. Mm.
That's quality, Paul. I love
It's
all
really
that.
inspiring.
No, well, I learned that from, I think it was Andy Reid at Nottingham Forest. He used to do it all the time, and he used to do it. Away matches as well. So
Did
he
work with England for a while, Paul?
Did I work with England?
No, did Andy Reid work with England for a while?
So he's an Irish guy. He was coaching with Ireland.
Ireland. Sorry. Yeah.
He was coaching with Ireland. I don't know if that was anything to do with Mick when he was there.
Okay.
He was definitely doing some sort of coaching. He's now coaching at Nottingham Forest. But yeah, I learnt it from him, and it was something that stuck with me.
So it's marginal gains, isn't it? You hear about it in cycling, you know, the 1% marginal gains that people try and get to win the Tour de France. And again, it's those little things, Paul, that make all the difference, I guess.
Look, there's no point, whatever you do, if you were practicing snooker or something and you were doing it on a different size table with different size pockets, there's no point practicing it. Well, there is, because you're getting the technique of hitting the ball. But I think when you're an elite athlete, you have to go down to these small margins. And you'll say with cycling, whatever it is, the 100 meters, you might win by 0.01 of a second. If whatever you've got to do to gain that advantage. And look, I know I am not the best footballer in the world. Like, I haven't got the ability of Messi. I haven't. I have to hold my hands up. But what can I do to be better than the left back or the right back on a weekend?
Yeah.
What can I provide for my team? Why is Mick McCarthy going to pick me over J-Tab, over Luke Varney, who came in? Why is he going to pick me over these guys? And if my corners are better than other people's, straight away they're going to start thinking, well, set piece taker, we'll have him in. So that was something that I worked on to try and make sure that was something that I was in front of others.
It's crazy, like what goes on the training pitch that we just don't have access to, and yet you're judged incessantly for 90 minutes on a Tuesday or Saturday afternoon, Tuesday night, Saturday afternoon. It's just crazy.
Well, so there's actually a saying, I don't know if it's still there, because I know since I've left they've done a bit of work at Portman Road in the home changing room. I don't know if it was a Bobby Robson comment, actually, and again it was another thing that stuck with me, because I used to say practice makes perfect, and it doesn't, because for me there is no such thing as perfect or no such thing as perfection. There was, I'm sure it was Bobby Robson's comment that said practice makes consistency. So when you're practicing these set pieces, and now I do my coaching, I try and say that to these kids who are making mistakes all the time. It's fine to make mistakes. When you're on this training ground, you make as many mistakes as you want, which when you're on the training ground, that's what you have to do. When you come to those 90 minutes, the more mistakes you've made, I might hit the first man off my first corner. Well, right. What have I got to do differently on my next corner to make sure I don't hit the first man? I think it would be very rare that you would have seen me hit the first man more than once in a game. Very rare.
That's why we need you back.
Well,
That's why we need you back.
Yeah.
Paul, can I say everything that Bobby said made sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
everything.
he's
Yeah.
he's an impressive man.
He was the perfect manager. And
Well, Paul, we're gonna. Oh, go on, Colin. Go on.
I was just going to say he was the perfect manager and the perfect person.
Absolutely. He embodies everything. You know, embodies everything that you're talking about, Paul. In terms of wearing that shirt, it was close to your heart and close to Bobby's. Listen, we're not going to keep you much longer because we know you're on a family day today with the kids and everything. But just to wrap up, Ipswich are in League One. It's a new era for them. Again, our new owners are called Game Changer. Do you think Ipswich can finally break out of League One and get back into the Championship as a very minimum for next season?
That's the aim. I think next season is going to be one of those where the fans are going to be sort of starting to come back in. There's obviously the hype with the new owners. There's always that excitement when you get that new manager, technically, who's going to have his own gel on it. Be patient because things don't change overnight. There's still half the squad there that has been there. There's been a lot of negativity around the club for 5-6 years now. So I think if fans and supporters can be patient with it, it will happen. Things do turn around, and Town are looking like they're going to have the investment behind them to try and get it in the right, to start heading in the right direction. I would imagine Town will be one of those that the expectations are high. You said there, Colin, or I think it was you, Colin, first or second. That's the expectation. I'm with it. That's where the club have to be, but they don't have to be first or second after the first weekend. They need to be first or second in the 46th game. So it might be a little bit slow if Town are in and around the middle. I believe it's a club that will slowly progress and come the end of the season be in the right place when they need to.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thanks, Paul. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you.
All of us, all the Talking Town community, wish you luck in what comes next for you. If it's in an Ipswich shirt, even better. But we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. And thanks very much.
We'd love to see you back, Paul.
I'll be down there watching if I'm not playing. So.
I hope to see you back. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you,
thanks,
guys.
Paul.
Cheers.
All the best.
Bye, Kate.